Howdy, this is Rob. I posted some videos during the pandemic. I was living in the city, San Francisco, that is. I was walking on the beach quite a bit when it was in the middle of the crazies. People would walk quite a ways around you, even at the beach, just out of fear. Anyway, I posted some videos, and I haven't done it since, I don't know, 2022 or 23 or something. So anyway, I no longer live in the city. I live outside the city. Anyway, I'm just getting back to the daily life with learning disabilities. So at one time in the early, 90s, mid 90s, I was diagnosed at City College of San Francisco with a learning disability. Back then, they never put a title on it as far as dyslexia, etc., all those kind of things. Anyway, they never put a label on it. They never officially gave me any documentation other than that I'd been tested and I had learning differences. I can't remember, but it was very vague. They, I don't know if they were afraid or they just didn't know, but they didn't put an actual label on it, that I was dyslexic or what it was. They just said that I had a very high IQ in certain areas of learning, and others I had a below average in other areas of education, I guess, which was reading, writing, arithmetic, those kind of things. So anyway, I was taking classes at City College, struggling like usual with the whole books and reading and memorization and such as that. Well, after I was diagnosed, they put me in a lab, they called it. I don't know if it was a learning disabilities lab or whatever it was. And we basically just had meetings of other people that were like me. And I admit they were doing what they thought was the best because they didn't know what to do. So basically, we just sat around and talked, and I don't know if we complained, but we probably talked about all the struggles we had. And but again, there's no cure for this. I'm also 38 years clean and sober, and like AA and sobriety and all that stuff, there is no answer. There's no cure. It's learning about what's going on and basically trying to figure out the best way to maneuver. And just like sobriety, some days you do good, some days you don't do so well. But for me, sobriety was or is, I don't necessarily want to use the word easier, but it comes more natural to me. A lot of it is just don't drink and do the best you can. And so many days and much time will pass where it doesn't really affect me on a daily basis. At least that's how I see it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that will try to debate it or argue it or whatever, because nowadays people just love that. Regardless, that's my experience. But that being said, this learning disability or whatever people want to call it, and these days it's ADHD. Matter of fact, about, I don't know, 2, 3 months back, I was officially labeled ADHD by Kaiser Hospital. I went through a series of questions and talking to a couple of different, I guess they were therapists, whatever that means. And after it was all said and done, they said, you are officially ADHD according to Kaiser's guidelines. So they suggested that I do a 6-week online course through Zoom and take, I don't want to call them classes, but take these Zoom informational videos with other people like myself. And like sobriety, there is no answer. There is no, this is the way you do it. This is the only way it'll work. And like when I was at City College, it was very frustrating for me because I believe that on certain areas I am very, very below average. Like I said, when it comes to reading, writing, arithmetic, detail-oriented things, I really struggle. It's a whole different language that I don't understand, and it just makes my whole brain and attitude lock up and feel, I don't want to say the word stupid, but I feel very frustrated because I just don't get it, and I know I'm not stupid. So anyway, that was those classes, and I felt like they were just for me, I felt like they were just like a kindergarten teacher talking to a kindergartner. They were very basic, and they were very apprehensive to say or do anything that might offend somebody, and I felt like it was not time well spent. In the very first episode, the first thing that the first doctor talked about, and I think they're just, master's degree psychologists, they're not PhDs or anything. Anyway, he talked in depth about all the different chemicals you can take for ADHD and the surrounding problems. And that was very, not only frustrating, but it was, I don't want to use the word offensive because I don't want to sound like one of those do-gooders of today. But I felt it was very arrogant. He talked as if, you just take a pill and it all goes away. And there's ways that you can cope with things so much better just by taking, certain medication. And I have learned through 38 years of sobriety, there is no cure. You can't just take a magic pill and expect this shit to go away. It just doesn't work that way. But the way he made it sound is if you just take Adderall and different amphetamines, is basically what I got from that, was that it will make life much easier for you. It'll help you focus. It'll help you, just in general. And again, I don't believe that. I believe that it's a crutch. It's just something that would lead you to believe that better living through chemistry. And I don't need another addiction. And the way he talked was just take some Adderall when you need it, and when you don't take it. But as somebody who has been sober all these years, I've realized there is no, I'll just drink a little bit once in a while just to get the edge off. And I felt like that's what he talked about in this class that he was presenting, that it will help you. But as somebody who has been addicted to alcohol and drugs, if a little's good, then a lot is better. And for somebody like me, I believe that would lead you down to a relapse, and just instantly, and you'd knowingly be taking this, knowing that from your experience it's not going to work, and it would lead you down to the path of relapse. But the doctor or the therapist, whoever it was talking in quite depth about how it can save you and blah blah blah. And I was just blown away that somebody could openly talk like that. That seemed to have no experience or knowledge of what it's like to be a drug addict, alcoholic. So anyway, that was the start, and I basically commented at the end of the class that this is ridiculous. And the woman that was facilitating it, she made a bunch of apologies and this and that. And again, I know these people are doing the best they can because there's so little known about it. Just like alcoholism, there is no cure, and it's very frustrating because they think they can help and they want to help. I believe that, but it's just not that simple. So anyway, I did that. I think I did 5 weeks of it, and then finally I just felt like it was just, again, like I was a kindergartner in a kindergarten class, and the teacher was teaching me basic ABCs, which again, I'm not knocking them people for trying, but I believe it's not set up for people that have struggles with learning disabilities, ADHD, dyslexia, all those kind of things. And that's why I believe AA works so well, is because it's inhabited by people that have the same commonality, and they have most, if not a lot, of the same experiences with drugs and alcohol, and they can relate to each other, and they can tell each other's story, which when I first came in and I heard somebody telling my story, I was blown away at how they knew my story. And the kicker was even more was the story was told by a woman. And I thought, how could a woman know what I was going through as a boy or a man, whatever you want to call it? And yet that's what I learned from AA, is that it doesn't matter, man or woman. Alcoholism, drug addiction, we're all very, very similar, and we all have very similar stories. There's variations, obviously, because we're humans, but it was very similar, and it was just mind-blowing that somebody knew my story, and we all have a lot of the same stories, give or take a few different incidences. Anyway, in this learning disabilities, or this ADHD lab that I was taking course, 6 weeks, I felt like these people were coming from an educational background, college, master's degrees, whatever they might be, but to not have an experience that is similar to other people's experience, it's pretty dang hard to really understand what they're going through. They can go by the books, they can go by, learning it through teaching and helping, but until you've been in one person's shoes, it's really, really hard to quite understand. And one of the lessons I learned from that was, after I'd been clean and sober for many years, a young woman came up to me, and not came up to me, I knew her actually. She was a friend of mine's daughter, and she talked about her food obsession and her addiction to it. And she said, Rob, when you eat that one burrito and you get halfway through and you're done and you put it away, she goes, well, I order another burrito. And it just blew me away. I never even heard it put that way. But so food addiction is a legit addiction. And I just thought it was one of those things where you just stop eating, because that's been my experience. And for the first time, it taught me that we all have our biases. And I've had people tell me, when I say I don't drink, and they say, well, why don't you just have, just one drink and then leave and that's it? And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. And they go, well, why not? That's the attitude I had with food. I couldn't understand it. I thought, for me, I never had a food problem. So I thought, you just eat half a burrito and you're good. Well, she said not for her. She said that she would eat one and just, go right into the second. And in their own way, they have hangovers and they have remorse and all those kind of things, just like I did with drinking and drugs. So The reason I'm saying that is because we all have our biases that we just don't understand. We think, well, it's not that hard. You just do this, you just do that. And learning disabilities are very similar because for me, I struggle, especially today is why I'm doing this. I'm struggling with time management, which I've always struggled with, but um, lately I've had doctor's appointments, I've had work schedule appointments, um, and I've had a few other appointments, and it's been very confusing and frustrating for me because, like a Google Calendar, I've never understood how to work one. I've struggled with them. I put things in there and I thought I had it together, and there's so many options in those in the software, and a lot of software is like that for me. It's just too complicated because there's too many options. And again, I'm a big picture kind of guy. I'm not that detail oriented. That's why I don't like reading and writing, and because it's very detailed. You have to focus on little things that my brain just doesn't like. I don't know how to explain it. So I've actually been working with a little bit of AI stuff, and I talked to AI recently, and it helped me get through the Google Calendar. And for the first time, it showed me things that I'd seen, but I didn't understand how they worked. And so I've been able to start posting on YouTube Calendar, and it's helped. But I forget. Next time I go in there, I forget how to use it again, and that frustration. It's that frustration that comes up. I get so mad, and I just want to scream. And and then I'm afraid I don't want to go back into AI because AI is not that simple either, even though it says it is. For somebody like me, I am not a detail oriented. I'm a real big picture. I'm very good at reading a room. I'm really good at reading people. I'm really good at reading big situations. They're very simple to me. They just make total sense. But that minutia is just kills me. I've had an old girlfriend that she used to always talk to me about balancing my bank account and all those kind of things, and she was very good at it, and she still is, and she loves that. Well, I would always just kind of push her away because I just didn't get it. And I tried to explain to her how hard it was, but she was one of those people that she didn't understand it. She thought, well, you're just not trying. You're just not doing what I'm telling you to do. And again, it was one of those situations where it was such a natural thing for her. She was so experienced at it that she couldn't understand why I couldn't do it. And she thought I was just being stubborn and lazy. And again, it's that bias in all of us that we all think, since I can do it, I can show you how to do it. And one of the things I've learned too is to try to teach somebody how to do something is much harder than it looks. I've been a very good athlete all these years. I've been really into partner dancing, swing dancing, two-step, and all that stuff. And dance and athletics are easy for me. So when I try to explain to somebody how to dance, I said, well, you just do this, this, and that, and you're going to be good at it. And I learned the hard way that some people are just uncoordinated. No matter what you do to make them coordinated, that's just not their skill set. And I thought that these people were just not trying. Sounds familiar? And I also thought that I could explain to them. They would understand if I did. And I learned the hard way that no, same thing. My bias was, since I can do it very easily, that, with the right training, they could do it. Well, they don't. And I was just thinking, well, they're not trying, or et cetera, et cetera. Sound familiar? Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. And again, that's that bias we all have. And I understand how hard it is to get rid of that because I don't know if the ego or the pride, that I'm good at something and I figure out, well, I am good at this, so I can teach somebody. Certain people just don't have the capabilities, physical, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. So I've learned that it's very, very hard for all of us, but we don't we forget that compassion, or I'm not even sure what the word is, but we just don't understand why someone else can't learn something that we're very efficient at. So anyway, back to the calendars. I just been really struggling, and I missed an appointment yesterday that I thought I had it covered. I thought I had all my um, Google calendars and tasks and all that stuff. I thought I was just like on top of it, and I missed a very important call yesterday, and it just it frustrates the hell out of me. It also puts me in fear because this was an important phone call that I needed, and then it brings up all this fear because now I'm not going to get what I needed or what I want, and so anyway, what this comes back to is recovery from drugs and alcohol is easy for me comparison to my learning disabilities. Those affect me on a daily basis, whether it's emails, whether it's text, whether it's just simple forgetting where my keys are, um, not remembering something that was very simple, like I woke up and said today I'm going to do this and that, and then 2 hours after I've passed that time, I realized I forgot all about the task or the thing I was going to do that day. And so on a daily basis, rarely does it ever go without me feeling frustrated because of something I forgot or I couldn't figure out, or just I'm not even sure what it all is, but all I know is that it affects me every single day. And I try to explain it to people, and everybody has the same thing. That they say, well, here, I'll explain it to you. I'll show you how to do it. I'll help you. I'll do this. I'll do that. And, nobody can really do all those things for you because, they have their own lives, but they mean well. And I appreciate it. But the reason I'm, making this video, which just like the other videos, is because I struggle immensely with this stuff. And even in AA, I don't talk about it either because it's really not anything to do with addiction. At least I can't figure out how it is. But like addiction and alcoholism, it's can be very self-defeating. And I've even tried going to a couple of meetings, so to speak, for people with disabilities. And the problem with that was it was always about negativity. It was always about all the problems that we have, all the things that affect us. But one thing about AA and recovery is they always talk about solutions. They talk about things that they did to help them get through the day, or, work with a sponsor, or just sometimes just getting out and volunteering with other people so that you can get out of your own head. So they have a positive message, and it's really, really well designed. It's just amazingly well designed, especially when they started this back in the, I don't know, 40s or 50s. I'm not sure what year it was. That they realized what they had and what they had to do to keep it going. And if you've ever known about AA, you'll know that it's there's no leaders, you can't give them a bunch of money, all these kind of things. It's really amazing. But in the learning disability groups, they were just a bunch of us sitting around griping, complaining, and I've learned that doesn't do any good. So as of yet, I've never heard of a learning disability support group that supports in a way that I'm accustomed to through AA, which is a positive reinforcement rather than everyone just sitting around complaining. And I understand about sitting around complaining. That's what I'm doing here now. But I know that that's not the solution. And so I'm trying to do this to help myself first, let's be honest. But hopefully this might ring true to somebody else, and they might, want to contact me or get some thoughts going in a positive way that maybe we can work on something and get things moving in a more positive direction, because most days this learning disability snapped its ugly head in my life, and I'm really tired of it. I'm way too old for this shit to be dealing with this. So, and I know like recovery, there's no cure or solution as of yet, but I sure would like to make it easier. And I kind of right now, I'm really hoping that AI can help me, and I believe it can. But again, AI is not so simple. For me, it's complicated, even though they're making it as about as simple as you can. Um, and then also, I just don't want to dive into it because I'm afraid because I think I just can't learn it. And I know if I dive in, I just get really frustrated. If I learn one thing, it might take me 2, 3 hours of frustration to learn the one thing. And then the next time I go into it, I've forgotten all the things that I learned the first time. And I know through sports and fitness that it takes repetition. But I love repetition when it comes to sports and fitness because I'm good at it. And it's very calming to me. But technology and certain learning aspects in life are very hard for me. And so I go into it with this negative attitude. And as soon as I hit a roadblock, there's a certain part of my body and my brain, and I don't know what, it just gets locked down and just gets angry. And then before you know it, I'm just saying, fuck this, and let's go exercise or something that makes me happy and that I'm good at. So anyhow, that's my video, and anyone wants to talk about it, hit me up, or whatever you guys call it in internet land. All right, ciao.